All right, now let's talk about DeAndre Hopkins. So, DeAndre Hopkins is now released from the Arizona Cardinals, and I feel like that's kind of a poor job on the Cardinals organization, from a GM perspective and a owner perspective, because we've seen receivers like Amari Cooper, get traded for a fifth round pick, a sixth round pick. So it kind of amazes me that they weren't able to at least get something from DeAndre Hopkins. Going into the draft, there were rumors that he could be traded during the draft, and also, you know, it's like how do you not at least get a fifth round pick for a receiver of that talent? Now um some of you guys might be saying a fifth round pick isn't so um so much in return, but it's still something. You're letting DeAndre Hopkins walk for literally nothing. Let's talk about best fits for DeAndre Hopkins. Now, to me, there's two, and there's one in the AFC and one in the NFC. So let's talk about the AFC. My pick is the Buffalo Bills. You know, you have Stephon Diggs. A lot of people last season, going into the last season, we're saying Gabe Davis is gonna have a breakout year, and I was not high on Gabe Davis at all. That Chiefs game really didn't open my eyes about him at all. Most of those touchdowns were just straight go routes, whereas Stephon Diggs was doubled, and the Chiefs secondary was just lost. Gabe Davis, you know. No, I'm not saying he's a trash receiver or anything, but I'm just saying he's not like this breakout star wide receiver number two. Now, when you have a reliable wide receiver two on the other side of Stephon Diggs, you're able to you can't really double either of them. So you're gonna get one-on-one coverage for Stephon Diggs, who's one of the greatest route runners in the league today, and then you have a physical receiver in DeAndre Hopkins who's able to catch anything on the most contested coverage plays. Now, do I feel that this move puts Buffalo over the top and finally gets them to the Super Bowl? Now, you guys know I've never been high on Buffalo ever since like they've gotten the Super Bowl hype, but I feel like this move could honestly put them in that Super Bowl. They'll be getting a healthy defense back, and when you have a receiver like DeAndre Hopkins, he's a game changer. When he went to Arizona, they won like what was it, like 10 straight, 11 straight games. They were undefeated for a pretty long time until that Thursday night game against the Cardinals. I mean against the Packers, and they end up getting to the playoffs that year, and that just is because of DeAndre Hopkins. He was doing everything he could on the offensive side, where they had no wide receiver too. Hollywood Brown was not there yet, and last year D Hop, he was suspended. Hollywood was there, he was injured, so it was just a down year for Arizona all around. And now we go into the NFC, and my pick is the Dallas Cowboys. Now, like Stephon Diggs, you have CD Lamb over there, who he's he was seeing some double teams late in the year, and they brought in Brandon Cooks. You still have Michael Gallup there, but if you bring in DeAndre Hopkins, you have CD D Hop on the outside, and then you're putting Cooks or in the slot, and also CD can be in the slot as well, while Brandon Cooks is a burner on the outside. So um I feel like that will elevate Dak Prescott's game. Dak is he's the quarterback to get a lot of hate, and honestly, I don't understand why. To me, I feel like you know Dak, he's I want to say he's like a top seven quarterback or anything, but he's not a bottom 20 quarterback or anything. And that's the type of hate that he gets. But when you have, you know, DeAndre Hopkins, DeAndre Hopkins is able to make any quarterback look great. Um, he's carried plenty of quarterbacks in Houston. Quarterbacks like Tom Savage, Brock Osweiler, who had a fluke season with Denver, but I think Brock Osweiler played it for Houston at one point, I believe. Um, but that just goes to saying what type of quarterbacks DeAndre Hopkins was playing with. He was playing with these no name quarterbacks who aren't even talked about. Who were never talked about. But if you're able to bring DeAndre Hopkins to Dallas, I feel Dallas is able to compete with Philly in the NFC East. They're already able to compete with them. But if you bring a top receiver talent like DeAndre Hopkins in, I feel like that just gives Philly much more scare. Because I feel like a lot of people have Philly, re- uh, repeating as the division champs and getting to the Super Bowl. But honestly, I feel like Dallas might be able to win that division, and that just goes to say for how good this Dallas team is built. They have a great defense, and you know, with if Dak is able to stay healthy and play at a top 12 quarterback level, I feel like this team can definitely be in that 12, 13, 14. Nah, I wanna say 14. 12, 13 win total. Now a wild card pick would be the Cleveland Browns. We've seen Deshaun Watson and DeAndre Hopkins put together some great seasons in Houston. We've seen Deshaun Watson and DeAndre Hopkins have elite chemistry. Now with DeAndre Hopkins being able to choose where he wants to go, I don't see him choosing Cleveland just because he said he wants to play with a lead quarterback, which Deshaun Watson is. And Deshaun Watson was getting a lot of hate last year for not showing for not starting, how he was or how he was supposed to, how he wasn't in 2020 when he led the league in passing yards. But when you're not able to develop chemistry for a whole summer with your teammates, and you're thrown into the action in week 13, and you're playing it in the stadium that traded you. um I don't expect this guy to come in and throw for 400 yards. Now this season, I expect a highly talented level of play from Deshaun Watson this year. I expect a top six, top seven quarterback play this year from Watson. If not that, then I expect top five. But because like I said before, I believe Deshaun Watson is a top three quarterback in this league, and he just has to be able to show that he hasn't played a full year of football since 2020, and he gets that chance to do that this season. I feel like he's gonna be able to turn heads, and DeAndre Hopkins also said that he wants to play with a highly talented defense. And Cleveland, I wouldn't say they have a highly talented defense, but they have a low key great defense. That you got Denzel Ward, Greg Newsome, Miles Garrett, and they traded for Zadarius Smith. And I feel like this team, their schedule isn't really all that tough, and I feel like this a lot of people are sleeping on the Browns. It's only May  31st today, so I don't want to speak too highly on my expectations for NFL teams going into the season, but I do believe that people need to put much more respect on the Cleveland Browns. Excuse me, a lot of people are just they are blindly ranking the Bengals and Ravens ahead of the Browns, but honestly, I feel like the Browns could be in that top two conversation in that division. And if DeAndre Hopkins goes to the Browns, you have Amari Cooper. They brought in Elijah Moore. They drafted Cedric Tillman out of Tennessee. You have Donovan Peoples-Jones then, and then you will have DeAndre Hopkins as well. So you have a ton of weapons there for Deshaun Watson. Then you're always gonna have that elite run game with a fantastic O line and a top five running back in Nick Chubb. So if DeAndre Hopkins does play in a Cleveland Brown uniform. I feel like that will turn people's heads to the Browns. But I feel like regardless if he's there or not, these heads should already be starting to peak towards Cleveland. Now we get to what the NFL analysts and media is saying DeAndre Hopkins should do, and that's go to the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, you know, going to Kansas City, obviously, all players want a ring, so that's what he'll be trying to do when he gets to Kansas City. And honestly, I don't see Kansas City as the best fit for DeAndre Hopkins. Patrick Mahomes plays with receivers that they don't really. He doesn't really need a route runner or a one on one or a elite one on one receiver type of guy. He just needs guys that are able to find an open spot in the field. He'll get them the ball, and they make plays after the catch. Now, yes, DeAndre Hopkins and Patrick Mahomes would be a nice duo, but I feel like you know knowing Andy Reid, I feel like he won't aggressively go for a receiver like DeAndre Hopkins. D Hop's I believe 30 or 31. So, I'm not saying like age is a factor in this because we all know D Hop can play. Um but I just feel like Andy Reid knows that Patrick Mahomes excuse me, knows that Patrick Mahomes doesn't necessarily need DeAndre Hopkins. Kansas City is already, a favorite to get back to the Super Bowl. Now if they get DeAndre Hopkins, how much higher do they move in that ranking? Honestly, I don't see them moving at all. It just adds another weapon for Patrick Mahomes. So I leave you guys with the question of what team is the best fit for DeAndre Hopkins and where should he choose to play in this next upcoming NFL season?